So Melanie Oldham, and I'll try not to touch, you'll be lucky because I've got to fit it in 8 minutes now. So I can speak really fast, but hopefully not too fast. But for those people listening on playback, you haven't got to fast forward the audio, because I don't know about anybody else, but I listen to things on 2 times speed because it just doesn't seem to happen quick enough. So hopefully you won't have to do that with me today. So as I say, Melanie Oldham, founder of Bob's Business, which is a cyber ed tech company that concentrates on the human side of the life. And I've been doing that for around about 18 years. Since 2015, I've been a director and a founder of the Yorkshire Cybersecurity Cluster, and more recently in the summer of last year was made a director of the UK Cyber Cluster Collaboration, which is bringing together all the clusters throughout the UK. So what I'm hoping to do in the next 7 minutes, it's probably left now, is to just give you a few insights as to those 18 years, what are my highlights, obviously from a business founder perspective and how I've grown my business, but also around what's out there from an ecosystem, from a collaboration point of view that's open to businesses, to professionals, and how do we actually tackle the future of cybersecurity? How do we get more people in? Mike touched on the fact that he's been in this industry a long time. He didn't necessarily have the qualifications or background, so he's wanting something in passion. So various different ways. There is arguably a shortage, or is it just that we've got blinkers on? And hopefully today I'm going to help you take those blinkers off and just challenge a few thoughts. Okay, so I'm an imposter, or at least 18 years ago, this is how I felt. I was the non-techie, dumped into an IT team of 13 techies, and thought this was going to be the shortest career move I've ever made. They spoke a different language to me, and I felt like that imposter. And I felt, when I'd go out to presentations, telling people, as Jessica touched on, the human side of cybersecurity wasn't really a thing. It was all tech, 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 but I kept sort of bashing and bashing. And one thing that I've learned over the years is persistence does actually pay off, and more recently, the OBE. So it's been an absolute pleasure to be awarded it. Do I feel like a bit of an imposter? Probably. Am I one of those sports people that's pushed my body beyond the limits? No. But also, I can't take credit for the OBE, because the OBE wouldn't have been possible if it wasn't for the incredible teams that I've had around me, especially from the teams amongst the Yorkshire Cybersecurity Cluster. So it's not really my accolade or my recognition, it's more what we've achieved as a collective, and it wouldn't have been possible, especially given that, as I say, I was an imposter to this industry. But it's the incredible people, the mentors, and the people that have given me encouragement along the way. Being truly British and having so much resilience that each time you fall down, you get back up and get back and back up. And we are only human. We have emotions. We are powered by these. And what's been really lovely is, although my concentration for my main business has been around human behavior, psychology, what makes people tick, how do we encourage people, that's also what's helped me build a great community around me, and how we can, as a nation, protect ourselves, build greater resilience, and work better together in order to try and combat this challenge, which is absolutely huge and growing. So I have 5 fundamentals. Passion, and I think Mike touched on this earlier, is wanting to have people in the industry that have a real passion for doing what they're doing. There are so many faces here that I recognise that I've seen over the 18 years, and honing in on that. So there is that question over qualifications versus passion. Passion at the heart of it, but I am still learning, and I continue to learn. In this industry, you always do. So for me, it's passion, but having an openness to constantly absorb new information. Honesty, again, it can come and bite you in the butt. I won't lie, it does. But I think it's an integral part of anybody working in cybersecurity, the ability to look people in people's eyes and then be honest and truthful with what you're doing. And alongside that comes trust. And yeah, it's fair to say that over the years, I probably have been a little bit too trusting and a little bit burnt, but then that's where my resilience has sort of kicked in, and I've sort of carried on going and pushing and persisting, as have all the other individuals that I know in the industry. We've all been knocked down, but we keep getting back, and that's what helps us to understand and appreciate what the organisations that are facing all these cyber criminals and all these attacks constantly feel. Why me? Why am I doing it? And how do I overcome it? And why we need to take this opportunity to work together. And the last one is opportunity. I've been really, really fortunate, because I've been in the right place at the right time. Somebody's put an opportunity for me, and I've seized it and taken it. And what we can all do as professionals within the industry is provide that opportunity. We all have a capability to introduce people into something new, a new concept, a new way of thinking, a new job opportunity. And the only way we're going to bring the future of our younger generations into it is by having these elements of passion, honesty, trust, resilience, and giving them an opportunity. So how do we create these thriving ecosystems? So as I mentioned, I founded Yorkshire Cybersecurity Cluster in 2015, and it's a network of really, really passionate professionals that are living and eating, breathing the cybersecurity pains that are going on. And for them, it's about really, really sharing the good stuff, the bad stuff, and best practices so that they can actually learn from one another. So it's that learning piece. For the other members of the cluster, it's about the cybersecurity vendors, products and services. How do they get what they're doing out there? How do they shout about that? The National Cybersecurity Strategy is really, really pushing emphasis on ecosystems because there is a real need in order for us to combat this real challenge is that we support and we encourage these new cybersecurity startups. We provide innovation opportunities. We provide an opportunity for them to be able to get into what particularly is really, really hard procurement lines. So by providing I suppose long-standing cybersecurity companies, we've got some people in here that have been doing it for a long time, just sharing the pain points that you've had about government procurement frameworks, how difficult it is, how to overcome them, how to navigate them, you know, tips and trades that aren't necessarily there in black and white to help you. That's the benefit that some of our new members, new cybersecurity companies get from our existing ones. And then we look at what we have around future talent and skills. So it's working with academia on two parts. One is cybersecurity isn't something that's actually addressed in our curriculum very well. And the content that's always necessarily in some of these academic programs isn't fit for the work that we're doing. You guys will know, what we're learning is probably slightly outdated or not relevant. And it will continue to be that way unless we as cybersecurity professionals actually stand and say we're willing to contribute to the academic profiles. We're willing to actually contribute to what's going into that content. And more importantly, how do we inspire those younger generations? And I got into the skills side not because I believe it's the right thing to do and I'm trying to address this skills thing. It was purely selfish from a business point of view. Having been in it, I have had and recruited some incredible apprentices, some of them which have been with me for 8 or 9 years. And I've invested time in them, but what the commitment they give back to me is phenomenal. And what I have with apprentices and individuals that we've tapped into locally that's very different from the recruitment and I suppose the fundamental problems that Mike outlined with recruitment is tenure tends to be short, turnover tends to be high, and you don't get that level of commitment. However, those elements of trust, commitment, and building relationships really, really early on pay off because those apprentices have a belief in you, have a belief in your business, and actually what you can teach them and what they can learn from you is probably considerably more than they can learn in an academic setting. So what we're doing as a cluster is we're really trying to pull together academia, industry, and with an element of government funding. So this is the first time that government from DCMS have actually supported the clusters. Most of the cluster activity that's happened throughout the whole of the UK has been very much driven by very, very passionate individuals on a voluntary basis because they know that they've got to address skills, they know that they've got to support the organisations, and more importantly, regional resilience. How do we actually support the organisations that are surrounding us? And we're not just supporting them because, again, we feel it's the right thing to do. Those other non-cyber related companies are in our supply chains, they're in our networks, they're providing products and services to us. So if they're not secure, ultimately, fundamentally, we're not secure either. So we've got that element. So my plea to you today, I'm conscious of time, how am I doing for time? 5 minutes. Is what can you do as cybersecurity professionals? And that is get a bit more active, get a bit more involved. And yes, it does take time. And those of you that know me, it's not been without stresses, and I've not attended various different government networks and given my opinions of where I think things could be improved, and then 2 years later, 4 years later, 6 years later, 10 years later, I'm still repeating the same things and feeling like I'm banging my head against a brick wall. But the network is growing, the community is there, and the passion and the desire to want to change things for the better and also to secure us as a nation is really, really there. So if you haven't already joined your regional cluster, please do. If you don't know if they exist, again, they are very, very different region to region, but what we're trying to do through UKC3 is really provide structure, support, and help for those clusters to grow. If you are a cybersecurity company in an area that doesn't have a cluster, Have you a passion? Have you a desire? Because myself and my colleagues are very, very willing to help you and support you. I've stolen something from Mike this morning. This goes to show that I've literally put these slides together this morning, is around give a little. Mentoring is everybody's role. Okay, and we want the best to take over from us. So how do we do that? We mentor people. So if you're not getting involved, get involved and consider mentoring. We're really, really fortunate in this hybrid shift now, because what it means is we can do mentoring online. It hasn't got to be a huge commitment, but giving that one individual your time, personalizing the content they're getting, and understanding what quality is it that they have that you can see. Because you can, when you spend one-to-one time, you can see a quality and think, this can be applied to this area of cybersecurity. It's not about competition from, how many pen testing companies do we have in one region that compete. No, it's about actually showcasing the best talent we've got and how can we work together. There's nothing stopping a cluster showcasing all the pen testers and saying to the buyer, it's buyer's choice, but these are the great companies we have. There's not necessarily a choice of one over another. And my final point is please remember you are human. And please give passion, honesty, trust, and show that we're resilient to fight this constant battle of attack that we're under. I'm hoping that didn't go over too long, lots of points. But I'm Melanie Oldham, and as I say, representing YCSC and UKC3 and Bob's Business Today. So if you want any questions, I'd say grab me, but if you can just connect with me on LinkedIn or just say hi, that'd be great. I don't really want to be grabbed. But thank you.